Hi, I'm Teddy Neptune, and this is an unusual video. Unusual for 4 reasons, or let's say 3 reasons, or maybe 4. It depends on whether I need one more reason or not, but there are definitely 3 reasons at least, okay? One, upload after almost a year, and I do understand if people are upset, disappointed, annoyed, whatever. Even angry. Fair enough, okay? I make videos, I make a lot of videos one time, and I say, yeah, I'll make more, I take your request, yeah, thank you for your request, thank you then I don't deliver, and of course you might be disappointed, fair enough. I see some kind of responsibility the moment that you have some followers, okay? And so yeah. But regardless, don't take the videos and the contents of some idiot on the internet who's just making it for fun too seriously, okay? This is really just a hobby. So far, I haven't earned a single cent from my videos on YouTube, and it was never meant to be a job, a career. The second reason is apart from my full-time job, I also have other work to do, which I basically forced on myself, the work, which is a major project that I'm working on. It is something that you do when you have no life, but you still need to do something, okay? I want to become an author, okay? The idea was there a long time ago. I started actually working on it as a New Year's resolution, immediately set into motion the beginning of January 2017. My first novel and the first series of books, accompanied by visuals and music that I compose, all done by myself. And I will talk about this in my other videos in the near future, hopefully. And I will also present my music, etc. Reason number 3 as to why this video is unusual is because today is my birthday, March the 1st. This is the night or the morning into March the 1st as I am recording right now. Okay, so happy birthday, Teddy Neptune. Yay me! I'm going to enjoy my birthday week until Armageddon. Yeah, it might be my last birthday depending on whether the Russo-Ukrainian War escalates or not. I mean, more than it already has. Yeah, and this brings me to my last point. Okay, so yeah, 4 reasons why this video is unusual. I do want to talk about the Russo-Ukrainian War. Okay, so a little disclaimer. I am not against Russians in general, okay? In fact, I don't think any ethnic group that exists is any better or worse, okay? I am pro-humanity, okay? So I believe wholeheartedly that every ethnic Russian, just like every ethnic Ukrainian, Pole, German, Dane, Malawi, Nepali, or whatever, all of them are born into this planet, into this world, from a mother with the help of a father. Whether the father's there or not, it doesn't matter. This is how biology goes. They're all born with skin, flesh, bones, and blood, and they all have intelligence. Yes, there's individuals who are smarter, can sing better, can run better, whatever, but overall they are all pretty much the same when they are born, and then the society around them, the politics, the media, the propaganda, the parents, the upbringing, the education from both adults or older people, including older siblings or cousins or whatever, who live around them or with them, and school. These things, they shape the people. And this is also why some countries have a tendency to have more educated people than others. This is why in some countries like many African countries, the IQ is lower than in many European or East Asian countries because the the environment, okay? The environment, not just being the geographic location or the flora and fauna and the chemical composition of the food or whatever, but also the people who influence others, they make the character. And no ethnic Russian is inherently better or worse than any ethnic Ukrainian. Okay, just to get this out. Okay, just to be clear, this is in no way a video that is meant to be used for some kind of racist or xenophobic reasons, okay? Now, this wouldn't be the first time a major nation invades a smaller nation under false pretexts, okay? Let's be clear here. The US, NATO, indirectly, therefore, also Germany, the country where I live. I mean, if we ignore World War II, for example, just recent history, this wouldn't be the first time a situation like this happened. And it is not just whataboutism to point it out. However, it does not change the fact that we live in 2022 and not in 2003, I mean. So what the US did in Iraq, for example, as bad as it was, it doesn't change the fact that what Russia is doing to Ukraine now is still bad, okay? So there is some double standard, it is true. There's some hypocrisy, that is true. But at the end of the day, it doesn't change what is happening now. And what is happening now should still be called what it is, okay? An invasion, an aggression. It is Russia fighting an offensive war against Ukraine, and that shouldn't happen. You just call it out, okay? And two wrongs don't make a right. And it is also a more global problem than Iraq, because we know that this whole weapons of mass destruction thing was a lie, okay? Saddam Hussein was a bad guy, okay? If he had weapons of mass destruction, he would have gotten them from the US anyway, so it was play stupid games, win stupid prizes. He was propped up by the US. He was a loose end, the US wanted to get rid of him. And now, with Ukraine, you have something that is more at stake here. I'm not just saying this because I live in Europe and it might affect me more directly, if you're wondering how that would be. If you point your finger at Ukraine on a map and then you slip accidentally a little, you might end up in Germany and point at basically me. So that's how close it is. And also, that's my bias, but now, objectively speaking, Russia has nukes and threatened to use them, okay? The US never threatened to nuke Iraq, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was never such discussion. It was really just an international joint operation, take down Saddam Hussein, topple the regime. I personally was against it even as a kid back then, okay? Just so you know. But just saying, it was different. And even if you think it was the same, it doesn't change the fact that now the situation is still bad and should be called out as what it is, okay? When you look at the map, okay, and let me show it to you, maybe a bit small. If you look at this map, you can see a few things. This is Google Maps, okay? Satellite image. So here you have desert, okay, mostly desert, and also mountains. It is very unlikely that anyone would invade Russia from there. We are not going to go into East Asia because this makes things too complicated, and I don't think Russia expects any direct threat from there. As far as I know, I could be mistaken. Then you have the Caspian Sea. A sea land invasion is risky for the aggressor, so it's also not likely. Plus, coastal defenses can make it very difficult for anyone who wants to get there. Then you have the Caucasian Mountains. Really good defense. Then you have the Black Sea. And now with control of Crimea, this is also a good way to defend Russia. I'm not talking about Russia from the moral point of view, just from a military point of view, okay? Trying to get their perspective, okay? So just so you know, I am not trying to justify what Russia does. I just want to explain why or what kind of logic is behind it, okay? So then, assuming Ukraine falls under Russian control, then you would have the Carpathian Mountains. Okay, I don't know if you can see it well. If I zoom in, maybe you can see it. These are mountains, okay? Green like vegetation, but these are mountains. They keep enemies from invading over land. There is this gap here, but you can use this in a way that, for example, the Greeks used against the Persians, the Thermopylae situation here. Maybe not as thin. There's still going to be some more fighting to be done to save this area here. But still, it is a defensible position here. And then you have this area. Assuming Belarus stays in Russia's sphere of influence, I mean, let's be honest, Belarus is basically a Russian puppet state that doesn't know it yet. And Lukashenko is Putin's bitch. Okay. Sorry for those harsh words, but it is what it is. Now, so we have Belarus as well. The Baltic states can be a problem. This corridor here between Russian Kaliningrad and Belarus, that one is also a narrow gap. And then you have this area here. This area. This is basically a flat land that, you know, lies between Poland and this kind of Russian, now occupied Ukrainian and Belarusian area here. And if you can at least narrow everything down to only have this line here, that is a significant gain for Russia. Okay, I am not saying that this is morally right or anything, just saying from a military point of view this would be quite useful for Russia. Okay, I am not in favor of that, but look, worst case scenario for Russia, okay, map again. Imagine you have the Estonian coast all the way down here. Follow my mouse if you can see it, all the way down to this part here. I mean, holy shit, this is a lot of land, a large frontier, large area to cover if you want to avoid enemies from breaking through, and it is flat land mostly. There are some hills, of course, there are rivers, there are some locations which can be defended more easily, but in general this is not the best defensive position. Okay, the vegetation, the woods, they don't really make it that better. Okay, in Asia at least you have the Ural Mountains, you know. Okay, so here the Ural Mountains, which at least provide some kind of barrier in case there's like a real serious invasion. Hey, I don't want to see the planets. In case there's a serious invasion from I don't know, China, although that is very unlikely, because why would China do that to Russia? They might do that to Taiwan, but that's a different story. Yeah, so It is not completely out of nowhere. This is why I wasn't surprised. But my first reaction to the invasion, when it was like official, like a real invasion, was anger and frustration, because I expected Russia to just take over the airspace, and with that, and with help of the artillery, to just cause so much damage that the defense of Ukraine wouldn't really work well and they could just roll over. It didn't happen. Despite having Belarus as a starting point for some of their troops to invade from the north, despite having some business in Transnistria, that part of Moldova which Russia tries to make Russian again, despite all this, and despite the attack from the south as well, from the Caucasus and Crimea, all of this did not really gain air superiority for Russia. And the advance, some might say it is slow or stalled. It is not really, because the US took weeks to take Basra and Baghdad. So don't think of this as a victory just because Russia is not that fast at taking Kiev, for example. Kiev is a highly populated area full of angry Ukrainians who would shoot at invaders. It is not easy to take this, so it will take some time, and hopefully it won't happen, but it might. So my first reaction was anger and frustration, because I thought it would be swifter, but it isn't. And thinking about it, it makes sense. It is also a matter of resupplying. You can't just rush in like the Germans did in during World War II. I mean, it kind of worked, but it was dumb luck in a way, and you can't rely on this. So the overall plan of Russia wasn't bad at all. It was a plan that I would have also drafted. I mean, I would not have invaded in the first place, okay? Just, again, from a moral point of view, I would never have done this. But if I had to do this, if there was no other way, this would have been my plan too. To use the Belarusian front along with the Russian-owned borders, and using Transnistria to at least stir some unrest. Also a smart thing to do. So Putin is not stupid, okay? He went full retard, but he's not stupid. Now that he doesn't get what he wants, now he's threatening with nuclear warfare even. Some say that dogs who bark a lot, they don't bite, or something like that. Yeah, I don't think he wants mutual destruction, because he wouldn't gain anything from it. At least now he can retreat and say, okay, you know what, we messed up, but at least we are out of this mess. Whatever. Although, here's what he really accomplished, okay? And this is something which I find interesting and also makes me happy, to be honest. What did Putin accomplish? He accomplished so far that most of the world sees him as not only the dictator he is, but also as a bad man. Most of the world doesn't like him. He is isolated from SWIFT, from other banking systems. Many countries around the world don't want to trade with Russia. Many people in Russia are protesting against the war because they see Ukrainians as like a brother people, or like a sibling people, so to speak. So he is very unpopular. There are massive protests. The economy is crumbling because, well, people just don't want to put up with anything Russian right now. And while this is hurting the average Russian citizen as well, I kind of like it, okay? I do feel sorry for the Russians who are affected by it and do not want Putin in power. But your suffering is necessary, or your economic suffering, I mean, of course. I don't want physical harm to you. But your economic suffering is important, it's crucial, and it is great. It gives me a boner to know about it, because this will force even those who don't oppose the war to protest because of the economic problems, you know, because their life is miserable. It's so shit. They do want change, and that is good. Destabilizing Russia from within is a good thing for NATO and for Ukraine. Okay, as harsh as it might sound, some of you might really suffer from it. If you're Russian, I am really sorry, but Putin brought it on you. Okay, and you are now bearing the consequences. At the same time, the Ukrainians are suffering even more. So there's that. Another thing he managed to accomplish is push Ukraine even more towards the EU and NATO. He also threatened Finland and Sweden. They are definitely more likely to join NATO and the EU, although they might stay a bit hesitant still. I personally would say they should do it now, because if they don't, at some point this kind of fervor that exists in NATO right now might go away, and in the future, when Finland and Sweden get attacked by Russia, it takes a while again for all the European countries to really support them, take them in, whatever. But that's a different story. So again, Russia united Western Europe against Russia. And interesting enough, Germany, after so many years of trying to be all pacifist, despite having weapons deals with questionable regimes like Saudi Arabia, is now back in action. The boys are back, so to speak. Okay, I do get excited about this because I have been so upset about the fact that now I think the fourth to last defense minister of Germany did serve in the military at some point, but wasn't really a defense minister person. And afterwards you had three women who all had completely different jobs before. They were neither in the military, police, nor intelligence service agency. They were no military historians or anything that is relevant to defending the country. And some maybe nepotism, some lobbyism kind of influence there that also made these random people in charge of the defense of Germany in case of war. That made no sense. And now Germany is finally getting their balls back. Okay, so that is at least for Russia a really bad thing, and in the current situation it is a good thing. I do not want Germany to actively fight Russia, but there's the simple fact that Germany is now back in business and is no longer just the economic powerhouse of Europe, but possibly also the military powerhouse. Overall, the Ukrainian defense is quite good, despite the expectations of Ukraine being rather weak. Ukraine is doing well, and Zelensky, a true leader, he formerly a comedian and singer and actor, now the guy with the biggest balls in Europe, maybe the biggest balls in the world. This guy is making like serious politicians look like clowns. This guy, yeah, I mean, dude, I would give him my left testicle if he wants to, okay? Just because out of respect, I would do that, okay? Seeing these crying Russian soldiers in captivity who regret the invasion fully, them not even daring to attack the civilians in Ukraine because they don't really see the point in the invasion. That is really good. And yeah, that is so far not too bad. But I still want to tell you this. The way Russia invaded, the slow progress, it is normal, okay? Just to remind you, despite not having air superiority, which they should have, but they didn't get air superiority for some reason. Despite this, the overall advance speed isn't bad. You have to consider this. Resupplying is important. Putin is maybe megalomaniac, maybe he's mad, but he's not stupid. I don't like him. I wouldn't mourn him if something really bad happened to him. I don't know. I sometimes have some very hateful thoughts too because of that. I have to admit that I probably no longer go to heaven if I ever were allowed to go there. And also, what I would like to do with Putin, those kinds of things, I don't want to go there. It just shows you what it does to a person when dealing with a situation like this. Now imagine actual citizens of Ukraine. I'm not a Ukrainian, okay? How they might feel. This is it is a big deal. It is very serious, okay? I make some jokes once in a while because I don't like to be sad or angry about it. It doesn't make it better, But that is, still a serious thing. This is why I'm telling you this. I want to be absolutely honest, okay? There is one concern about Russia not sending in their best and waiting for Ukraine to be worn down, okay? This argument is valid, okay? The ancient Romans did something very similar. They sent in, before the reforms, they sent in the velites. They would throw the javelins or sometimes the stones or anything they have to harass the enemy and hurt them a little and to provoke them, and then either retreat or wait for the hastati to arrive. The hastati being young men who have to pay for their own equipment. They are not that experienced. They are mostly light infantry, so to speak. They would, of course, with good tactics and so on, with their large shields, fight the enemy, weaken them, maybe defeat them, but if not so bad, not that big of a deal. Behind them, a line of principes, the experienced soldiers who also have more money or had more money and paid their better equipment with that. They would then fight, and they would definitely pose a bigger obstacle to the enemy. And even if they died, then you would have the triari, which were like middle-aged men. Yeah, I get it. They are a bit older, but they have better equipment. They have experience, and they are supposed to be more hardened. And this could be somewhat applied to Russia too. Send in the conscripts, give them some armored vehicles, some lorries, send them there, try to secure some locations. If they fail, send in heavy cavalry in modern warfare being tanks, and more heavily armored infantry vehicles, and then maybe send in some more elite troops, some more of the federal special operators, etc. That is possible, but at the same time, you already have some of the better equipped Russian troops alongside the conscripts. And also, one thing I want to point out is, just like with the ancient Romans, Napoleon's Grand Army, these troops were considered to be the best, but they were always reserved, in case things went really bad. So oftentimes they would not see combat, which means that they might not be that well suited for warfare either, because they might look great on paper and have good equipment, but maybe they didn't gather so much experience. Think about it that way. Now you have Ukrainians who are determined, who are angry, who are motivated to fight for their country and give the enemies all the hell they can give, unleash pure badassery and fire and furious anger. That is really bad for Russia right now. They have poked a hornet's nest, and yeah, I am quite optimistic. Okay, all in all, that is the situation as of right now. There were some heroics. Heroics will get you killed, but we all know that. We do appreciate those who do the heroics to save the rest, do these things for the greater good. So mad respect for all the Ukrainian defenders, including those who gave their lives. Okay, and I mean, you saw the memes, you saw the posts online, you saw the messages, the news. You know who I'm talking about. There's just so much that this war revealed about humanity that is very interesting and also uplifting, you know, spiritually, emotionally speaking. I mean, that there is also something good that can come from at least the people who are involved. Okay, and I mentioned my bad thoughts and so on, you know, this kind of anger, but in the case of Russian soldiers invading, many of them, again, conscripts, many of them don't want to fight the war. If you show them so much compassion that they feel obliged to stop the fighting, if they are so moved that they feel just shame and guilt and will just cease fighting against Ukraine, that can really work. The other alternative is, and I'm not saying you should do this, but the other alternative would be the complete opposite, which is show utter barbaric horror to them. Okay, again, morally speaking, very bankrupt. But the Vietnamese did that to the US. It didn't always go well because the US soldier, and I will talk about this in a different video maybe, at some point only saw a threat, bomb this, napalm this, whatever. This can be bad, but if you do it selectively, the officers who with confidence led these Russian troops into Ukraine, if you do this to them, it could work. Again, not my recommendation, because I think the nice way is much better and will give a better image of Ukraine. Some older people in fancy houses making decisions that affect other people's lives, politicians who are not willing to fight themselves but send others to do the dirty work. Yeah, it is that. Will Putin use nuclear weapons? I highly doubt that. I knew that Putin would invade Ukraine. I kind of knew it. With the nuclear weapons, I don't think he would want to go out that way, because as of right now, he can still try for a white peace, or even give up all his ambitions in Ukraine, retreat, but then he would still have Russia. If he uses the nukes, the atomic bombs will basically take away everything that he has worked for so hard, because he did work hard to get Russia where Russia is now. It is really also his work, okay? And wasting it like that, I don't think so. And so I highly doubt he would use the nuclear weapons. And even if, I would even go so far, even if countries like Poland, Germany, France or the US sending troops to aid Ukraine, even then he wouldn't use nukes, because when he uses them, he will be destroyed. There's also a chance that the defense, the anti-missile defense systems that NATO has will take down at least some, perhaps even most of the nuclear weapons, and there will still be some NATO power standing upon Russian ashes. And this makes no sense for Putin. I don't think this is going to happen. But what do I know? I'm just some idiot with a microphone. So take this with a grain of salt. Okay, that's been quite a long video so far. I don't want to drag this on forever. I thank you for your patience, and I'd like to see your comments, regardless of which side of the war you are on, whether you are from Russia or Ukraine, or an ally of Russia or an ally of Ukraine, allied country, I mean. If you are pro-Putin, I mean, I still want to know what your thoughts are so I can understand you, of course. But whatever. Just so we're clear, I am not making this video to be anti-Russian. Not at all, okay? Some of my friends from childhood, Russian, I still know Russians, get along with them well. There are some Russian YouTubers, for example, or celebrities or whatever, athletes, great guys. Yeah, this is not anti-Russian, but this is pro-humanity, and Vladimir Putin is threatening humanity. And this is why I had to say it, okay? Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Slava Ukraini!